Hello, everybody. Welcome to Introduction to Data Science in 737. My name is Vanessa Frias Martinez, and I'm going to be the instructor for this course. I'm going to start describing some course logistics and general information, and then we'll move on to our first class, mostly focused on an introduction to data science, basic concepts, what we will be covering in the course, and an intro to RStudio and R, which are going to be the software packages we'll be using. If you've already read the syllabus, you have noticed that this is an online asynchronous course. What this means is that there's going to be no in-person or online classes. I will be recording sessions on a weekly basis and uploading them to Elms, and you will be responsible for watching the videos at your own pace. I recommend, nevertheless, watching them on a weekly basis to avoid falling behind, because I'm going to be covering a lot of content very quickly. So please, every week on Monday mornings, I will upload the weekly video. Make sure you watch it sometime in that week. Because this is an asynchronous online course, basically all communications, all announcements will be done via Elms. Make sure you receive notifications. I will be sending out weekly notifications, information about the slides, the videos, etc. via Elms. And so make sure that you know how to use that platform and you are on it. For general questions, I'm going to ask all of you to please start a discussion on Elms. Why? Mostly because most of you oftentimes have very similar questions. And so, to prevent for myself and the TA to be answering the same question 100 times, it's much more pedagogic to actually answer that question online as a discussion on Elms, so that everybody else receives a notification and is aware of that answer. For more specific personal matters, projects, or assignment questions that you feel are much more individual and not applicable to others, you can, of course, email both myself and the TA. But think twice before doing that, and think if there might be value for others in the type of question that you're asking. And very importantly, whenever you send an email, both my email and the TA's email are in the syllabus. Make sure that you always, in all communications, email both of us. Another very important piece of information is that this is a project-based course. What this means is that you're going to be working in a group on a semester-long project with other teammates. And that project is basically divided into 3 graded milestones. Okay, 80% of your grade is going to come from this group effort, and then you'll have around 20% of the grade will be based on smaller assignments that will need to be completed individually. Very important for this week is that you identify your team members. Teams can be up to 3 people. I have prepared a file on Elms that I will walk you through now in a second. But basically, I ask you that you form teams within this week. If you don't find teammates, no worries. I will assign you to a specific team by the end of the week. But, I'd rather have you pick the people you want to work with. Sometimes you already know each other. And so, if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to do that. I will show you how this will work on Elms in a second. Okay, so let's go to Elms. On Elms, I'm going to be, as I was saying before, announcing everything, handling all communications through Elms. I'm going to be uploading slides, videos, code, assignments. Everything is going to be in there. So let me show you how this is going to look like. So this is Elms for our course. As you can see here, we have the syllabus. I encourage you to read every single section of it to make sure you understand this course. Every week, I'm going to have one module created. And for that module, you will have access to the slides. And you will also have access to the different videos. For example, in class 1, we have 3 different videos, okay? As you can see, the module for next week is created and so on, right? I will upload files basically every Monday morning for each week so that you have access to them early in the week and you can organize your week as you wish. Besides the slides and the video, you will also see each week that I will upload files that we might have used in class, for example, CSV files or R code, depending on what we cover in class that week. All the information will be there. And then also, I encourage you to check the assignments. As I was saying before, this is a project-based course. You will be working in groups with 2 other teammates, and that project will be divided into 3 different milestones. So I encourage you to check these 3 milestones, as well as the individual assignments, which are the critical feedback that I will describe in a second. But basically, go over all the assignments. I've published them on purpose so that you fully understand how this course is going to work. And then something else important that I wanted to discuss, as you see here in the first week, you have to find your teammates, okay? You will be working on this project throughout the semester. In order to find teammates, what I'm gonna ask you to do is to basically come to this link here and add your name, your email, and your background, and maybe some interests that you might have for the project. And I will talk about the project more in a second, okay? But for those of you who don't know each other, make sure you add your name, your email, and what your potential interests for the project might be. Make sure that you check this page throughout the week and that you reach out to others to form your team of 3 people. Again, for those of you who don't find teammates, don't worry, I will assign them myself. But if there's people that you feel you would like to collaborate with because of the specific characteristics of their background, make sure that you do so through this page. More information about the assignments, as I was saying before, this is a group a course that is going to be based on a group project, okay? You will work together on 3 different milestones. Each milestone is due at the end of the month. So you will have one deadline at the end of September, at the end of October, and at the end of November. Each milestone will require you to write some code, to write a report, and then to also do a recorded presentation of the work that you've done and to upload it on YouTube. You can check the assignments for details. And then in addition, that will be 80% of your grade. In addition, there will be 3 individual assignments, valued 20% of your grade. And these assignments are going to be mostly providing critical feedback of some of the recorded presentation by other teams, okay? Trying to provide feedback with respect to what other teams are doing for their project. As I was saying before, I highly encourage you to check these assignments on ELMS to make sure that you understand everything from day one, since you're going to be building teams and working together on these. But basically, the 3 milestones are divided as follows. The first milestone is going to ask you to basically think of an idea for your project, describe it, and describe some papers that have done similar things. Okay, so for example, if I'm interested in predicting COVID-19 cases using prior cases and masking behaviors, I will find some papers that do something similar, and I will, describe those papers in my report together with the data sets that I'm going to be using to answer this question, okay? And then, as you can see, basically the idea that you will be working on is going to be different for each team. But then milestones 2 and 3 are going to push all the teams to work on applying the exact same techniques to the questions that they have asked. Okay, so for milestone 2, for example, I'm going to ask all of you to understand how to use, say, for example, linear or logistic regressions or decision trees or random forests to answer, the question that you've posed in your project. And for milestone 3, I'm going to ask you to use support vector machines, neural networks, and clustering to answer the questions that you post. Okay, so everybody's going to be using exactly the same techniques, and those are the techniques that we will be covering in class, but different teams will be using techniques to answer different questions. Okay. And that's really interesting because generally all teams work in exactly the same data sets and all teams face the same issues. What's going to be interesting from this approach is that by working on different questions, different teams will face different issues when trying to apply all of these techniques. And that will push you to also think as well about when different techniques are useful or applicable depending on the research questions that you are asking. So, this approach is very well thought of and done in purpose. But precisely because sometimes some of these techniques might not be applicable to the question that you are trying to answer, I really encourage you to email both myself and the TA about the project idea that you have well in advance before the deadline. So the deadline for milestone 1 is the end of September. Make sure that once you form your team, you start brainstorming, and within 10 days, 2 weeks, you already have some ideas to share with us. Make sure you share them with us because you might be interested in, as I say in the slide, recommender systems or generative models, but those are things that we will not be covering in class. And so I really want to make sure that you work on a question that you will have the tools to answer. Okay, so please make sure that you reach out to us. To give you a little bit more background on what group-based project ideas could be, these are some of the projects that students worked on last year. Generally, I'd suggest that you frame it as predicting X from a set of features Y, okay? And for example, last year, there was a team that worked on predicting house prices using Zillow data and census data. A team that worked on predicting days till sold on Zillow. Another team worked on predicting Yelp ratings using business features. Or another team, for example, worked on predicting Airbnb customer ratings using Airbnb and census data. I highly encourage you to retrieve your own data sets, and highly advisable is also to combine multiple data sets. There's a lot of challenges out there that will give you one data set and will ask you to do something. I want you to think beyond that. Okay, and to understand that by combining multiple data sets, like for example, Zillow and census data, your answers and your insights will be more powerful. So by next week, I'm asking you to make sure that you have a team for the project of up to 3 people. What you have to do is go to Elms, to that shared file, put your name and your email, contact other people, and then once you have your team, you can write it in that file itself. Okay, so you can just update the file saying this is team 1, these 3 people, and if you already have an idea, you can also write the idea that you will be working on. And also immediately after, start thinking about the project idea and make sure that you communicate with the TA and with myself well before that deadline. And I encourage you to check all the assignments on Elms to make sure that you understand the full process.